Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new day. We have the Stanley Cup Playoffs starting today, and we just found out the New York Rangers have won Phase 2 of the draft lottery, and they get the number 1 overall pick, which is most likely Alexis Lafreniere. Let's get right into my reaction of the New York Rangers winning Phase 2 of the draft lottery and my predictions for the first round of the playoffs. Here we go. Let's start with my reaction to the teams in Phase 2 in the NHL Draft Lottery. So we had Pittsburgh, Edmonton, Nashville, Florida, the Rangers, Winnipeg, Minnesota, and the Toronto Maple Leafs, each having 12.5% chance of getting that first overall pick. They did everything live. They brought out the balls. Gary Bettman knows those 8 teams, so good for him. He knows them by the logo, so that's very good. Well done, Gary. Anyway, each team gets a ball in. The only ball that was dropped, and this might create like a conspiracy there, before Bettman could even say the name of the team, was the Rangers' ball. And even before the Rangers got picked, minutes before, Roberto Luongo tweeted out that the Rangers' ball looked a bit heavy. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, so it starts going or whatever, and you see the Toronto Maple Leaf ball go up and kind of like ding around a little bit, just like John Tavares when he hit the post. And guess what happens this time? It dings around a little bit, and the New York Rangers ball comes from the side and boom, up. And it's the New York Rangers winning the Phase 2 draft lottery. The New York Rangers, who are an absolutely stacked team, will get Alexis Lafreniere. This team has Zibanejad at center, Strome at center, Hedl at center. So those are your top 3 centers. Left wing, they have Panarin, Kreider, now Lafreniere in there as well. So there's the left wing sorted. Buchnevich on the right wing, Fast on the right wing. You've got Capo Caco as well, who's a right wing. Just think about those 3 lines right there. You could have Zibanejad, Panarin, and let's say Buchnevich. You could have Strome, Kako, and Lafreniere. The options are endless. Add that, they got like Fox on defense, who's brilliant. Trouba had a mediocre year, but hopefully he comes around. And then you have, obviously you have your 3-headed monster in net, but you have those 2 young goalies in Shesterkin and Georgiev. The Rangers, they look good coming out of this. And, I was cheering for the Rangers this year. I liked the Rangers this year. I've liked them for the last couple years. And seeing them get Lafreniere, I'm completely fine with it. Obviously, I was hoping Toronto would win the draft lottery, at least help the pain a little bit of losing to the Blue Jackets. But in the end, I'm glad Lafreniere went to a big market team and he doesn't get lost. I was worried if he went to Florida, he would get lost, just like how Jonathan Huberdeau and Barkov, yeah, they're stars, but they're not stars. Do you know what I mean? Because they haven't, I guess, the market's just so small. So I was pleasantly happy that it was the Rangers. Good on them. It's going to be great. I think they're going to go with Lafreniere. I can't see them picking anyone else. He's the consensus number 1. And then 2 and 3, I figured LA will take Stützle, Ottawa gets Byfield. That's my predictions for the top 3. It'll go in that order. But overall, this is a fun little phase. It's really cool that, they did this 24-team play-in, whatever, and that the teams who don't make the playoffs, even the ones that were guaranteed to qualify, at least got a shot at something. Turns out to be the first overall pick. And it looks like Alexis Lafreniere is heading to the Big Apple. And moving on, let's get to the Stanley Cup Playoffs. So we have the Golden Knights, number 1, versus Chicago, who were 12th and now 8th. Colorado, Arizona, Dallas, Calgary, St. Louis, Vancouver, Philadelphia, Montreal, Tampa Bay, Columbus, Washington, New York Islanders, and Boston, Carolina. There are some intriguing series here. We're going to go over each series, my prediction, who's going to win, and in how many games. And I'll talk about a couple key players for each team going into the series. Let's start out in the West. Okay, let's start out West. We're going to go with the number 1 seed, Vegas Golden Knights, who claimed the number 1 seed by beating Colorado in overtime in the last game of the round robin. So they're number 1, and they're going to play the former 12th seed, now 8th seed Chicago Blackhawks, the team who beat out the number 5th seed Edmonton Oilers, and by the end of the regular season, who had actually were 4th overall. Anyway, let's get right into it. The Golden Knights, they had a great year. You have Pacioretty, who had 32 goals and 66 points in 71 games. After signing that big contract, he's back exactly where he was expected to be. You have just a potent offense. You got Smith, Marchessault, Stone, Stastny, Carlson, you name it. You got Tuck on your third line. The Golden Knights are a great team. On defense, you have Theodore, who played great this year. You have Schmidt, Holden, Martinez, who they picked up at the deadline, McNabb, you name it. This team's got it. And obviously, you can't go wrong with the the two-headed monster in net. They could go with Flower or they could go with Leonard. It doesn't matter. They are stacked. Going to Chicago, you have the experience. Now, the Golden Knights did make to the Stanley Cup final in their first season, but Chicago has the championship caliber team. They have Kane, who's won 3 cups. You got Saad, Taves, you have Keith, no Seabrook there, but you do have Crawford. So they've been there. They've done it before. They also have some young guys like Strome, who looked good in the first round. You got to Brinkett, and you have, of course, Kubalik, who had 30 goals this year, and he was the first ever rookie to get 5 points in their first playoff game. In the end, though, I don't think experience is going to help Chicago. Vegas is an overall all-around team that aren't going to be just relying on Draisaitl and McDavid. They're going to be up for every single game, and they're just going to hound Chicago. And the way Crawford played those high-scoring games, I don't think he's going to be able to bounce back as easily, and Chicago's not going to be able to score as easily as well because Flower, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Robin Lehner are both spectacular goalies. I think this series is done pretty quickly. I'm going to give Chicago 1 game, and that's it. I think the Golden Knights take this in 5, and they move on to the second round. Next up, we have the 2nd seed, Colorado Avalanche, versus the former 11th, now 7th seed, Arizona Coyotes. Now, we're going to start with Arizona. They had a great play-in round. Darcy Kemper was an absolute stud. He kept them in every game. He won them a couple of the games. And Arizona showed that they could score when given the chance. And they surprised Nashville. They surprised me. They're an underdog story. I really hope they can go far in this playoffs. Let's break it down for them. This year, their highest point player was Taylor Hall. He had 52 points in 65 games, split between Arizona and New Jersey. Schmaltz, he also had 45 and 70. And Clayton Keller, let's go with him, 44 and 70. Through the playoffs, though, you had Hall, Keller, Dvorak, Kessel, all playing a big part. Also, OEL on the back end. And Connor Garland, he scored some big-time goals, big-time plays during this play-in round. But it all comes down to one man, and that man is Darcy Kemper. For Arizona to beat Colorado, Darcy Kemper must play the best hockey of his life. If he can't do that, if he can't stop the onslaught that is McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, Kadri, then Arizona isn't going to last long and they are going to struggle. Speaking of Colorado, you've got some great players. You have Nathan McKinnon, who's up for MVP and I think should win it. He had 93 points in 69 games. He had 43 more points than the second highest point player who was a rookie defenseman in Cal McCarr. He's been lights out, but in that little round robin, Colorado looked great. McKinnon looked great. Burakovsky, Landeskog, Rantanen, Nazem Kadri. Man, Toronto could have used Nazem Kadri this year in the playoffs. He was brilliant as well. Colorado is a great team. Also helped that Grubauer played really well, and Francouz is a great backup and a second option. In this series, I see Colorado just taking it to Arizona. I do think Arizona surprises them a couple games. Colorado does have to fight through some adversity. I think Arizona is going to take 2 games. Darcy Kemper is going to be able to help them get 2 games, 2 wins, but Colorado is going to take this overall 4-2. Colorado advances as they win in round 1 against Arizona in 6 games. Next series, we're going to go with the 3rd seed Dallas Stars, who manages to score a goal in their last game against St. Louis and win in the shootout with Gurionov. And they managed to win a game. So they got the 3rd seed, and they're going to play against the 6th seed Calgary Flames, who beat out Winnipeg. Overall, key players for Dallas, of course, it's Seguin, Ben Radulov, and hopefully Pavelski can find his footing in these playoffs. On defense, you got Klingberg and Heiskanen, and with some outliers that I think they're going to really rely on, Rupe Hintz, and of course, I believe Gurionov is going to have a great playoff as well. High expectations on him going forward in his career. In the end, though, it's going to be Ben Bishop. Ben Bishop, and with the help of Goudobin, that's the only way they are going to beat Calgary, because Dallas just struggles to score. On the Calgary side of things, Matthew Tkachuk needs to be Matthew Tkachuk. Johnny Gaudreau needs to find his offensive flair. Then Tolman Monahan. When those 3, a couple years ago, it was 2 years ago, those 3 were a 3-headed monster. They need to show that against Dallas to be able to beat Ben Bishop. They just need to pepper Bishop with shots and really attack the front of the net. On defense, you got Giordano, you got Gustafsson, who you picked up, Anderson, Hanifin. I think they're going to be fine. On defense, they're all right. Of course, obviously, TJ Brody as well. I think from this, Dallas does have the better team. They definitely have the better goaltending. But Talbot showed in that series against Winnipeg, he's found his footing again, and he looked great. I think this is going to go to 7. It's going to go to 7 games, and Calgary is going to take the 7th game. And I think it'll probably be it'll be Matthew Tkachuk just scoring the game winner in overtime. It's just got to be. So here we have it. Picks of the big players there. I think Matthew Tkachuk is going to end up winning it in Game 7. I'm going with Calgary, 4-3. They move on to the second round. Next, we have the 4th-seeded St. Louis Blues, who had a poor round robin, and they're going to play against the 5th-seeded Vancouver Canucks, who defeated Minnesota in 4 games. Key players for St. Louis, it's all the ones from last year. O'Reilly, Shen, Perrin, Schwartz. Honestly, the team's stacked. And of course, on defense, you got Pietrangelo, Parayko. You expect someone like Dunn and Falk to step up. St. Louis is stacked all around. Another key thing, they have Tarasenko back, so he's going to play a big part. They have Jordan Binnington, who obviously was great last year, has shown some good play this year in the round robin, even though they didn't get the offense that he needed. And Jake Allen, if he needs to go in, he had a great last game where he made about 37 saves. He played really well in their 2-1 loss, the shootout loss to Dallas. St. Louis looked good. It was just they couldn't really get on the board. On the opposite side for Vancouver, obviously you have Miller, who had a great year after coming over from New York. Tampa Bay, I don't know, whatever team he came over from. Pettersson, Horvat, Hughes, Besser, Foley, you need them to all step up. But really it's going to come down to, I believe, the battle of the goaltenders. Who's going to be better? Is it going to be Markstrom, or is it going to be Binnington? And for me, I think Binnington is the better goalie, has been the better goalie. And I think he's going to be the key. The series is going to be close. I think it's going to be a tight-knit series. I do think St. Louis is going to take this in 6 games. St. Louis is going to win 4-2. Markstrom's going to play okay. Binnington's just going to outplay him, which gives St. Louis that edge, and they will take this series, even though I am pulling for Vancouver to upset the Blues in this one. So there you have it. I have St. Louis moving on. 4th seed beats the 5th seed. St. Louis takes this series in. All right, now we'll shoot over to the Eastern Conference, and we're looking at Philadelphia, Montreal, Tampa, Columbus, Islanders, Capitals, and of course, Boston, Carolina. Let's go. First series, let's go right into it. We have the hottest team going into the break, which is the Philadelphia Flyers, and the hottest team after the break and after the round robin, who absolutely dismantled Tampa Bay, Washington, and Boston. We got Philadelphia first. And then the surprise, but not really a surprise because they have Carey Price, the Montreal Canadiens, the 12th seed, defeated the 5th seed Pittsburgh Penguins. They get the 8th spot. They're playing Philly in the first round. Another Philadelphia-Montreal series. Sign me up. I'm ready for this. Let's get right into it. So Philadelphia, you have that potent offense. You got Konechny, Couturier, Voracek, Giroux, all the key players. But you also have Kevin Hayes, who had a pretty good year, an okay year. He had 23 goals in 69 games, but he looked really dangerous during the round robin. I think he carries that over. It was also nice to see Ghost get on the board a couple of times, get a couple assists in there during the series, and of course in the series of round robins. And of course, Carter Hart, he's great. He is like a young Carey Price. Shooting over to Montreal. Now, it was just a team effort to beat Pittsburgh. Plus, Price played like Price. So their key is going to be, of course, Carey Price. But you also have like Tatar, Danault, Domi, and of course, Jeff Petrie. He just scores some big goals. I also expect Nick Suzuki to have a good series. He's going to get a couple goals in this series. And you know what, I'm going to predict right now, Jeff Petrie gets the game-winning goal in Game 1. And Montreal takes a 1-0 lead in the series. In the end, though, I think the hottest team in the league absolutely takes it to Montreal. They're not going to allow what happened to Pittsburgh to happen to them, because that's 2 Pennsylvania teams getting ousted by the Canadiens. That's not happening. Montreal, with Carey Price and Mr. Game-winning goal, Jeff Petrie, they're going to take 2 games from the series. But in the end, Philly will overcome the adversity after losing that Game 1. They're going to come back. They're going to win this series 4-2. Philadelphia, that number 1 seed, they're carrying it over to the second round. Next, we have the number 2 seed, Tampa Bay Lightning, playing against the number 7 seed, the Columbus Blue Jackets, who beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in 5 games after a magnificent series. So for Tampa, there's a question mark. Will Steven Stamkos be playing? Is Hedman okay? And will Vasilevsky find his footing again for this series? Their key players, obviously, you have Point and Kucherov. Hopefully Stamkos and Hedman can get back. But that means players like Shattenkirk, Sergachev need to step up. Johnson needs to find his game like it was 5 years ago. But really, I'm worried about Tampa Bay, especially the way Columbus showed that they can stifle a potent offense like they did with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They can hit that trap, they get that goal, and they make it hell for your team to get anything in the zone unless it's around the perimeter. For Columbus, key players, Dubois had a magnificent series against Toronto. Nyquist looked good. It's going to be Jones and Werenski, though. They're going to play tons of minutes. Werenski, obviously, he loves to rush up, and he makes a few mistakes in the defensive zone. But Seth Jones, he's just proven why he should be in Norris Trophy. Should be a Norris Trophy candidate. He was brilliant in that series against Toronto. He played in every single situation. He is going to be big. This series, though, I think it's going to be tight. It's going to be close, just like the Toronto series was with Columbus. And it's going to come down to goaltending. Now, Vasilevsky is better than Anderson, but the way he played in that round robin, is he better than both Korpisalo or Merzlikins? Korpisalo basically just took over. Like, John Tavares probably should have had about 4 or 5 goals in Game 5. Nothing. There was that one post. Korpisalo robbed everyone. He had one little spat, when they were down, he let in those 3 goals against the Leafs in Game 3. And that's it. Other than that, he stymied the Maple Leafs. And I think he's going to carry it over. That boy wants to prove that he is the number one. He is the number one. He is the replacement for Bobrovsky. And that's a two-headed monster. Tortorella can go either way. He's got great game plan. And I think Columbus does it again. They are going to be the thorn in Tampa Bay's side. I have Columbus winning this series in 6. Tampa Bay will get 2 wins, but they're not going to beat Columbus. Columbus is just going to frustrate the hell out of the Bolts, and I've got Columbus winning. I do expect big things from the Columbus goaltending, massive things from Jones, and I think Pierre-Luc Dubois takes, again, another step to becoming an elite center. Plus, he gets paid soon. He wants that big money, and he's going to prove it these playoffs. Columbus wins this series in 6. Next series we're going to go over, number 3 Washington Capitals against the number 6 seeded New York Islanders. Now, this is going to be very similar how I feel about Columbus Tampa Bay. Washington has that potent offense. John Carlson had 75 points in 69 games from the back end this year. You have Ovechkin, who was Rocket Richard, tied with Pasternak. Nick Backstrom still had 54 points in 61 games. You had Vrana, who took the next step. Kuznetsov's always there. You have Oshie, Wilson. Kovalchuk can be dangerous. Eller, they've got it all offensively and defensively. Samsonov's not there, but they do have Holtby, and he looked good throughout the round robin. He looked pretty good. So they are the Washington Capitals that you expect to do well. They're going to play well. They're going to get their points, etc. If they can beat the Islanders. I think Washington definitely gets points on the power play and everything like that, but it's the 5-on-5 play that they need to score. They need to get their chances on 5-on-5. The Islanders, they have like Barzell, who's going to be good, Nelson, Lee, Bailey, Pajot, that pickup was lovely. Eberle did well, and Beauvillier had a brilliant series. He was fantastic against Florida. They also had Varlamov, who played really well in their series, and I think he's going to be neck and neck with Holtby. The goalies scratch each other out for this series. In the end, though, I think it's going to come down to the strategies of the teams and the defensive structure of the Islanders. I think that defensive structure is going to frustrate the Washington Capitals. Washington will get their points, will get their goals on the power play, except I think the Islanders take advantage of 5-on-5 play, especially with Washington's offensive-minded approach, especially to 5-on-5, and the Islanders capitalize on that, and they beat out Washington at 5-on-5, and it doesn't stop. They get their leads, they play their trap, they play their system, and Washington just can't recover. I have the New York Islanders winning this in 6 games. They're going to win 4-2. New York Islanders upset the Washington Capitals. They move on to the second round. Lastly, we have the best team from before the break, overall best team, the only team to get 100 points, the Boston Bruins, who struggled mightily in the round robin and got the 4th seed, just as I predicted, against probably one of the best well-rounded teams who can attack you offensively. Their defense is amazing. What kind of team has 10 different defenders they can pick for 6 spots? And then their goaltending. They've proven that Mrazek can play. James Reimer, highlight reel James Reimer. He was magnificent when he got in against in the playoffs against the Rangers. What's going to happen? I think Boston is, obviously, they're going to play better than they did in the round robin. Pasternak's going to get on the board. Marchand's going to the three-headed monster, Pastrnak, Marchand, Bergeron, they're going to get their points. Krug is obviously looking for that next big contract. He's going to play well. But I think it's going to be the secondary scoring for Boston that's needed for them to be successful against Carolina. Jake DeBrusk needs to take that next step. McAvoy needs to make sure he's focused every single time he has the puck. Hopefully Andre Kasha can get into the lineup to support. But it's going to come down to how the secondary scoring helps the Boston Bruins. If you look at Carolina, Sebastian Aho, he took another step after that first playoff series, the play-in round. He had a great year, almost a point per game. He ended up with 38 goals in 68 games. And when he got into that play-in, he didn't stop. And who went with him? Teravainen was fantastic. Svechnikov was fantastic. You had Vinny Trocheck, who they picked up at the deadline. Still a ridiculous trade, amazing pickup. Shea on defense, that pickup. You have another, like a Norris Trophy player in Slavin. Will they get Hamilton back, who obviously is another Norris Trophy, could be a Norris Trophy candidate. Nietzsche is there. This team can hit you so many ways. You have that number one line, but their second and third lines, they can pitch in as well. Overall, Carolina and Boston, their top lines, they match up. I think that could go either way. And if they're a wash, it's the second and third line scoring, fourth line scoring. And I think Carolina has the edge there. And Carolina overall attack, Carolina has the edge. Overall defensively, Carolina has the edge. Their system is brilliant. And for their goaltending, if something happens to Rask, I don't think it's going to be as good if something happens to Mrazek, because I think James Reimer, he can play, and he remembers that Boston comeback 5-4 win. And if James Reimer gets in, I think he's going to play amazing. And really, I do want James Reimer to beat Boston. Let's be honest. I think Carolina takes this series. I'm going to give Boston 2 games. I think this is going to go to 6 as well as some of the other series. Carolina's going to win 4-2. Sebastian Aho, again, he's going to take that next step. The secondary scoring is going to happen for Carolina. They're going to get their points from the back end, and wouldn't be surprised if both goalies see time for Carolina, and I think they're both going to play really well. I got Carolina beating Boston. I think Carolina is going to go far in these playoffs. Good luck, Bruins. Sorry about your luck to meet the Hurricanes. Got the Storm Surge. They're moving on to the second round. All right, and that's it. What a crazy day. The New York Rangers are going to get the number 1 pick, most likely Alexis Lafreniere, and the playoffs are set. I think the Golden Knights are going to beat Chicago, Colorado over Arizona, Calgary over Dallas, the Blues over Vancouver. Philly's going to take out Montreal. Columbus is going to upset Tampa Bay again. The Islanders are going to stymie the Washington Attack, and the Carolina Hurricanes are going to beat the only 100-point team in the NHL this year. What a great first round of the playoffs we have set. Some amazing looking series. I can't wait to watch. Let's go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.